So I suppose the IoT for us, from a lighting perspective, has been about technology convergence and infrastructure convergence. So our principle of what we provide is based upon using lighting as a hardware element in buildings. You have to have it in there, but it's never been really connected. It might be controlled, but never really a connected device as such. So our journey in IoT started with saying, well, what can we put inside the luminaire, the light fitting, and what value could we derive from that? And we focused on two key things: communication and sensing. So trying to understand what's going on in the front end of the building. Lots of systems tell you what's going on in the back end. So how's your HVAC doing? How's your fire system doing? But you don't know what's going on in the space, really. You don't know how much it's used. You don't know how the frequency of use, the number of people necessarily. You don't know whether you've got too much or too little light. Even HVAC systems are pretty rudimentary in identifying occupancy and saving energy. So we were about trying to say, let's use this lighting element as a communications and sensing platform, collect the data and provide access to that data. Think of us a bit like Salesforce.com, but for building activity data, what's going on. So we collect the data through sensing technology, communications, put it in the cloud, and we make it very accessible. So right at the building level, we want to exchange our data with the HVAC system, for example, so that if there's only one person in the room, you don't need as much energy and heat used as if you've got 50. So it can be much more granular than just there's someone here or not. It can be how many people are in the room. So we're able to identify that. So it's a lot about giving a higher level of visibility and focus, granular data about what's happening, and then using that to provide enhanced experiences, saving energy, understanding how your space is used. One very good sort of rule of thumb came from JLL, the property management company. They came up with a rule called 330-300, and the idea was that they were trying to explain the relative proportional difference between the main running costs of a building, whatever it is. And their analogy was that it costs around $3 per square foot for your utilities, your energy, $30 per square foot for your space, your rent, but $300 per square foot to put people in it. And the principle is that, making sure people are happy, productive, engaged as shoppers, whatever they are, people are expensive. It's £50,000 a year to have a desk space in London for a business, the provision of that space. So, the better you can understand how your occupants are engaging with the space and then deliver, better environments for work, for staying, for entertaining, etc. It's kind of our mission to try and capture that data and make it available as it needs to be used. I think it's interesting that I think it's not that, from my understanding, and it's limited in terms of stuff outside of lighting, but being someone who travels a lot and goes to hotels frequently, I've been surprised at the lack of technology in some cases, but I understand there's a lot of back-end systems and room booking systems and restaurant booking systems, and there's a lot of disparate systems, and it seems a little bit that those systems are sort of built up over the years and haven't really been an aggregation. So you've got lots of little bits maybe, but they're not all working well together, perhaps. I might be wrong, but so we want to advocate a different approach where that data is made freely available to impact other systems. So the hope is that we can work with partners of existing technology solutions, be it a restaurant booking system through Lightspeed, for example, and say, look, we can provide you much more granular data about what's going on in the restaurant, dwell times, queues, was there 4 people or 6 people at the table, have those people been sitting there too long and they haven't been served, what's the average time between the courses being served, so get someone to the table. So the idea being that we hope that by people understanding what data can be available, then it starts to be a catalyst for the conversation of, well, how can that add more value? So I think that the fact that you have to put lighting into the hospitality space, but now it's figuring out how to capitalize on that additional data. So typical rule of thumb, and LEDs kind of made the biggest shift. So if you go from normal lighting, say halogen or another higher, older technology, then you'd typically go into LED only, you'd save about 70 to 80%. A lot of people have already done that piece. So then it's, well, what does better control give you? And lighting as a whole is usually between 20 and 30% of your energy bill overall within most buildings. It just varies. But so occupancy-based, sensor-based control can save 15 to 20% on that bill, even with LED. And it's the other benefit as well. It makes it last longer. So your maintenance schedule, you can squeeze those assets. So that's one of the benefits we see, particularly in large estates. From a maintenance perspective, we can tell you before the light's going to fail. So walk around any building and you'll see a light out or two different types of lights, and maintenance of an estate of a particular size gets challenging. So because all of our devices are connected, they can inform the maintenance guy, the FM guy, these lights are going to fail. But it can be very proactive. So instead of going to site with one bulb, the guy knows that 20 or 30 are going to fail, so take a batch of them and do it at once. Less disruption, better aesthetics alongside that as well. The benefits with HVAC, HVAC even more of a percentage of cost there. So knowing is someone in the room or not, I believe can save 30, 40, 50% depending on the occupancy of the space. And then you can get even granular with figuring out, well, I've got 50 people in the room, they create body heat, so you can get quite clever with it. And most of that work's usually done at the design stage, but now it can happen dynamically. So a conference room, we've all been in one, and it's cold when you walk in, and then when it gets filled up, it gets warmed up. Well, that information about the amount of people and the volume can be passed back, so it can dynamically change. So that's one of the main points of interest we find with building systems. We're a very open system, so it's not you have to buy Gooee's product with Aurora's lights and that's it. We sort of abstract ourselves and say we're a bit like Android. There are other well-known brands out there who have solutions, and you're tied to their lighting. Okay, so that makes replacement or retrofit much harder. So we try and provide the solutions to any lighting manufacturer who wants them, from decorative to residential, commercial, industrial. And that makes it very flexible in terms of options for replacement. So I had this, I want to swap this out and have that connectivity built in. When it comes to saying, well, I want to keep what I have and bring smart into that, that's all possible. Obviously on a one-to-one case, but you can go from a smart connected light bulb, which is like the Philips Hue type product, that kind of capability, through to adding sensors in a very discreet way onto certain luminaires. So there's definitely options across the board, and that's one of the beauties, that because all this is wireless technology, there's no more cables, there's no infrastructure disruption. If you're coming to replace 10 lights, you come and do that, you walk away, now you've got lighting control, sensing, beacons. And I think that's one of the beacon side of things, using the lights as almost a GPS, if you will. It's a very localized GPS. Each light has emitting a signal which can be picked up by your handheld device, and we feel that that's got a lot of opportunity in hospitality. Where are your guests? Where are your staff? Where are your contractors? And understanding how to put them together or keep them apart as much as you need to. We work a lot in retail, and there's a very big demand for that there, putting people and products at a place in time. And we've seen use cases of increasing basket spend by up to 10% when you influence decisions while people are there. And that can happen in a hotel. So someone's sitting in the lobby, they've been sat there for 10, 15 minutes, perhaps you'd like to suggest they'd like a drink. So send them a notification, there's 10% off, it's happy hour, Allow them to engage with the barman. How often have we sat in a lobby and been like, no one's coming to see me? You can walk around, you could just ping someone, I want a drink. And so there's ways to use that proximity of the customer to the building and the people there to provide a much more personal experience in any type of building as well.